talked a lot this year about MVCs, motor vehicle collisions going up, pedacyclist death rates going up. And really, as a developed nation as we are, to see our rates go up like this is just deplorable. And pedacyclist deaths have gone up 77% from 2010 to 21 in 11 years, 77%. Other motor vehicle fatalities have only gone up 25%. And so that's in 2022, that is 7,508 pedacyclist deaths. I mean, those are people being killed, being struck by cars, and they're walking or they're on bicycles. And this includes kids. That's 447 under the age of 18 that have been killed. We know that the landscape is changing. It's SUVs and trucks everywhere. You are 3 more times more likely to die if you're struck by an SUV than a car. And I've talked about infrastructure in Europe and the approach to traffic calming, the measures that they do in Europe that just Americans won't tolerate in terms of how they slow traffic down to make it safer where there are pedestrians. But all this, it's time to really stop blaming our roads, blaming the vehicles, and let's look in the mirror for a second. Let's look at the driver. So it begs the question, what are you driving and where are we headed as a country? And I've talked about, I'll get a little bit more about behavior, but where we're heading in this country. And if you think about before we had the BEVs, battery electric vehicles, over 30 years, the average vehicle increased by 900 pounds. Since the BEVs have come on the market, we've seen same vehicle models increase by 1,500 to 3,000 pounds.
Goodness.
50% more than internal combustion engines. Think about that.
Wow.
And of course, we got the Antichrist on 4 wheels, the Hummer at 10,000 pounds, which is just insane. And remember, when you're in a car crash, we can't run away from physics. So some of you may hate it. I love physics, but momentum equals mass times acceleration. So think about that. So the amount of energy is 1/2 mv squared velocity squared in mass. So the thing with these BEVs, like the Hummer, it weighs 10,000 pounds, but it is a jacked up SUV on all-terrain tires that will do 0 to 60, what, Steve-O, in almost 3 seconds? Faster than supercars. And now you got to stop that thing. So we are facing, in my mind, a absolute safety crisis for pedestrians as well as other drivers. So I'm gonna stop the rant there. But let's talk about driver behavior. So the Foundation for Traffic Safety interviewed 2,500 drivers and surveyed them and kind of parsed them based on their survey, there were 6 driver types. And then they dived deep into driving behaviors. So the first category, which we'd like to see, was what they call safe drivers, where they didn't engage in risky driving behavior. And there are not a lot of them. Distracted drivers, which is the predominant category. And this is all distracted driving behaviors, most notably cell phone use. And then I would add the distracted driving, the new TV screen LCD panels that we have in our vehicle where they're getting rid of knobs and you got to go through 8 screens to simply turn your air conditioning up 1 notch higher. Then there's the speeding driver. People just speed all over the place. And I do go fast in my car, but I go fast when it's appropriate. I'm not putting anybody else at risk. I do not speed in neighborhoods. I do not speed in towns. Open interstate by myself. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to open it up. I'm on a country road by myself that I can see well ahead of me. There's not going to be a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or someone inside the road. Then there's really the dangerous distracted and aggressive drivers. So that's really the horrible category that we see. These are the people that, crash into other people. You can see it all over YouTube. Impaired driving, unfortunately, our DUI rate has been pretty much kind of steady. It seems like those people are just going to do what they want. And then the most dangerous drivers this is the drunk, distracted, aggressive driver, which is the worst category. And what's interesting when they did this survey, 93% of drivers said those who use a cell phone, text, or email are very or extremely dangerous. So I think 93% of people agree you shouldn't be doing this. And they also said that they would be, if somebody important to them would know about it and disapprove it, they'd be kind of embarrassed and they wouldn't want to tell them. But unfortunately, even though we all feel this way and we know this way, and I mean, I'll raise my hand. I've been guilty of this as well. 27% of drivers admitted they have actively texted or emailed while driving. 38% admitting to holding a handheld phone during a call, and 37% admitted to reading a text or email, not just sending one. So, and then when it came to speeding, 50% reported driving 15 over, and I think that is clear on our interstates. I typically drive 10 over. I don't go much over 10 over unless I'm trailing somebody or I've got a wide open piece of interstate, or I'm helping Steve-O drive his Porsche from Atlanta to Boise, where I don't even want to go there.
I love how he blended you into the criminal activity.
Yes. 18% reported driving drowsy, and then 7% still admit to driving under the influence of alcohol. So very interesting, but I think it's time, but in America, we don't like to look in the mirror, and we want to always blame somebody else. If the car crashes, it was the automotive manufacturer's fault, or it was the city's fault because the roads weren't right. If we engage in dangerous behavior and something goes wrong, we still want somebody to pay for our behavior, for us that we did. So we need to start looking in the mirror and think about how we approach this. And I think one thing I learned important at the Porsche driving school we talked to about was what one of the instructors called active vision. So that means you are actively looking at the road in front of you. You're looking in your mirrors, you're looking at other people, and you're looking at the car ahead of you, and you're thinking about, what is that car going to do? Are they going to suddenly pull out of me because there's that truck coming up? So if you do active vision, you're engaging your part of the brain, and you are now actually operating the vehicle in a more safe manner because you are actively driving. You're just not sitting on the wheel, listening to music, tapping your thumb, just like, oh my God, how many miles did I just go down the interstate? So if you start thinking more that way as you drive, start using your vision and think about actively evaluating the road in front of you, the cars in front of you. And the easy thing is to look through the car in front of you. If it's not an SUV that you can see through, but look through the car in front of you to see what's ahead of them. That's why I hate being behind a big SUV or truck, because I cannot actively evaluate the environment in front of me. So I think by increasing our awareness of our environment through active vision, we will be safer drivers, and hopefully we can, start to put a change to some of these statistics that we've seen and that I talked about.
Stephan, it's so alarming that the 75% increase in pedacyclists killed in a relatively short period of time. I mean, that graph has got to look dramatic. It's got to do that hockey stick thing to even get there. And I'm talking with two guys. I was not in the service, and I'm deferring to you guys who are both in the Air Force. And I think fighter pilots may have coined this phrase of SA, the situational awareness, where you were constantly aware, not just like in front of you, like when you're in a jet, you're above and behind and everything around you, situationally aware. Obviously, the distracted driving part deteriorates all of that. You're not even aware of the car in front of you having left 5 seconds ago at the green light you've been waiting on, or 10 seconds. You're not even aware of the people in your car. And that just so drags down your attention span. So, I mean, are any of the numbers improving? Are any of these driver aids where they tell you to turn on the driver assist or click on the, I'm driving and I cannot respond to your text? Is any of that helping right now?
Before you answer, Stephan, I've got a contrary point and a contrary question, and that is this. How much of this, and I'm going to say it is not zero, and it's probably a lot higher than zero. How much of this is the pedestrians' fault? You have fentanyl legal in Seattle and Portland. It's smoked like crazy in San Francisco. You have, I remember reading, a friend of mine showed me an article that said, forget about drunk driving. A very dangerous activity is drunk walking. Yes. Marijuana is legal all over the country. How much of this is pedestrians that are stoned or drunk or on fentanyl and they just wander out and they're not in a crosswalk and it's dark and they get hit.
Distracted walking. And we've all seen the video of the lady, walking in the mall
Yeah.
on her phone, falls into the fountain. And there actually is, it is called distracted walking. And I'm going to pull up some statistics here, but a very good point, Steve-O, to bring up the contrarian side of it. And clearly there was, they talked about it, a study at Ohio State University. It showed that what they're looking at is ER visits. So ER visits went from 256 in 2005 to 1,500 in 2010. So these are injuries occurred while walking because you fell, tripped, didn't see something.
Wait, are these non-vehicular?
This is non-vehicular. So this is just people that fall and hurt themselves walking. So you clearly, if you think about that, 256 in 2005 to 1,500 in 2010. These are people just walking and hurting themselves because they're distracted, talking on the phone, using their phone, whatever. So I think, Steve, you brought up a great point that, yes, I'm sure there's a very large component of this in cities where it is pedestrians that are distracted as well. And I think the most important thing for the active software and systems that you can buy, the ADAS systems for your vehicle, is the ones that have the emergency active braking with pedestrian safety, and most all manufacturers have that because it's required in Europe. So that was definitely an option. It'd be nice to have. But good point, Steve. I think we need to blame the drivers. We need to blame the pedestrians, but we all need to. And I haven't run into anything talking on the phone, but I've come damn near close. So here's a good point. Yeah. If I'm in New York City, I'm not going to be walking on my phone while I'm in that city.
No. All right.
And Steve, that is a great point. But I mean, Stephan, are you seeing any of these numbers bottom out and plateau on the distracted?
No.
I mean, on people who are like my wife, my daughter, and I, and probably yours as well, have a turn off your phone notification while you're driving.
I have mine on. Do not disturb on the Apple phone.
Right.
What it's
is
called.
any of that changing? The numbers?
I haven't seen any statistics that come out on that, but clearly we know that it will work because we know distracted driving is a large component of the increase. So anything you can do to affect decreased distracted driving is going to have an effective measure. And I think one is to become more of an active participant as a driver. And active vision, I think, is the easy first step. The first step you should actually, like you said, is use the do not disturb feature on your phone while you're driving. And then the second would become more of an active participant when you're driving the car. Really evaluating, like you said, fighter pilot, checking six, being aware of it's the first step in situational awareness that's going to be the most effective for you.
Well, thanks for that. I will say again, and I always emphasize this, we're the only podcast with a trauma surgeon car guy who can bring us safety from the trauma surgeon standpoint, from the trenches. You've seen it all. You've seen so many victims. So great perspective, and thanks for that, Stephan.